Hello. Oh, wait. Wow. I just realized that we're listening to Taylor Swift on like 11. One sec. All right. What is that all about? Hello. Hello, and welcome back to Leggs, where we embark on the journey through the nuanced terrain of human motion and emotion, exploring how that act of physical activity intertwines with our need for connection and belonging. I'm your host, Will. I'm in power pose right now, hands over the head, legs spread, just rocking power stance. I'm honored to guide you through the exploration of the significance of movement in our day-to-day lives and how it all adds up to feeling just a little less lonely. It's been busy. It's been busy in the world recently. Are you guys paying attention to this shit? It's like you turn on the news, you throw on your Instagram, whatever, you doom scroll, and like there's something new. There's something to be sad about. There's something to be mad about. There's something to be glad about. There's something to be hateful about. There's something to be cheerful about. Everything is so mixed up. Everyone is just so at the end of their ropes, it feels like. And it's kind of wild because I don't know. I just don't know where we all fit into this grand scheme of things anymore. But whatever. We're all just trying our best, isn't that right? Anyway, from our device dependency to our awful, awful run influencers that are just making us feel bad about basically everything. This is Legs. This is where we venture into the realm where our solitary paths converge with a shared experience. Conversations we have with individuals uncover the ways in which physical activity, manifesting itself here via running, but other stuff too, serves to bridge the chasm of loneliness that we're faced with daily. Today is another very special episode, as it always is, but these guests don't just like I don't just come by them lightly. This takes time to vet. This takes time to edit. So anyone listening right now, by the way, thank you. Thank you for listening because you make this possible. This isn't about money. This isn't about brand sponsorships. This isn't about anything but passion and but making you feel a little less lonely, okay? We're not going to at anyone here. We're not going to beg for some brand to come along and sponsor this thing because I don't care about any of that. Anyway, okay, off the soapbox. Today, we've got Jake Smith, or as he's known colloquially on Instagram, at Jake underscore the underscore runner, the underscore shoot art. Jake the runner art. Anyway, this guy is a footwear designer, does creative direction, spreads love for the sport of running, and he's just a figurehead. He's becoming a figurehead in this world of where the illustrative arts meets the sport of running. Today, we talk about the rise of run clubs, creativity in running, how that creativity comes through, what running means to us as an individual, how it helps us be more present in our day-to-day lives, and a really fun lightning round where he got every single question right. So listen for that later in the episode. But without further ado, two last things. One thing, I want to thank everyone who's listening one more time because it means the absolute world to me. And two, Jake, thanks for being on the podcast. Everyone, this is Jake Smith, A Conversational Pace for Leggs. All right. Well, we are back with another conversational pace on Leggs. It's been a couple weeks now since I've interviewed anyone, and if anyone's been keeping up, thanks for the patience. If not, you didn't miss much. Anyway, okay, we're back with another episode. This is going great. This is off to an awesome start. We've got Jake. If you know anything about Jake, kudos. If not, this is your opportunity to get the inside track. I've never said that before, and I'm never going to say that again. I'm just going to pass it over to Jake because, again, this is off to a terrific start. So, Jake, give us an intro. Where are you? Who are you? Yeah, we'll start there.
Sweet. I'm Jake Smith. I'm based out of Brooklyn. A lot of my friends and colleagues called me Jake the Runner, simply just because it's a lot more recognizable than Jake Smith. I work currently, I'm a contract for Hoka, working on special projects coordination, which is just basically a fancy word for I'm a random guy that they pulled up the street who they thought has, like a tap on to like what's going on with like production and stuff like that and just knows enough people. It's where I just do like larger races for Hoka and current like branding and apparel and graphic design or kind of whatever creative need that's needed. I studied in Savannah, Georgia at SCAD for footwear design, which is I kind of like my two personalities that I divide up that I also share on my Instagram. And yeah, I mean, I specialize. I've been running for like 14 years. I specialize in like performance footwear primarily, and that's again what I studied. But then I've really fallen in love with like the community that kind of comes around that from both a fashion sense and also a storytelling sense. And I feel like those two like are married really well, and it's really fun to kind of tell stories across that whole spectrum of yeah, I've like initially started with working in running stores and like seeing what shoes people gravitated towards and why, and then learning to kind of like harness that and like tell those stories through that same medium is just really fun, whether it's from a design standpoint or a marketing standpoint. So yeah, that's the best explanation I got.
Nice. All right. Okay, so you said your friends in college started calling you Jake the Runner, which was more less generic than Jake Smith, which is still a great name. Like let's not get it wrong. Yeah. But
Yeah.
so if it's not Jake the Runner, what else, like if someone were to describe you in one sentence, like a short sentence, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Dedicated but scatterbrained, maybe. I don't know. But in not like a negative connotation. At least right now, and maybe this is just how I feel post college. I've done a lot of work throughout running, just especially in the last like few years. Like I said earlier a little bit, I've been running for like 14 years as like from the same old like started running in middle school with my mom, and then like when my mom started picking up marathons, I started running with her, and then I kind of fell in love with the sport there and started watching the track field from that, and to really like making it about like I've always been drawing and trying to find where I wanted to kind of work that into like whether it be a career or whatnot, finding that like middle ground. And in college when things started picking up, I initially started drawing illustrations of runners, like portraits and stuff like that. I'm kind of getting myself off topic here, but
That's the scatterbrain part. I like it. I
yeah,
mean,
there you go.
you're
Yeah,
true to what people would describe you as. That's great.
yeah, cool. Yeah. I mean, I just kind of like fell in love with this sport through like artwork and merging that with like my personal life. Remind me the question again. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I think you got, if someone, that's a long sentence. If someone were to describe you in a short sentence, what would it be? But
Yeah.
like, I think we got like the unabridged sort of
Yeah.
novel version, which I appreciate still. I think there's a lot of questions I'm just going to pull out of that now. So
No,
fuck everything else I had here planned.
no. Go back. I'll keep myself.
It's okay. No, you don't need to. That's the best part. You mentioned something about like getting into footwear design and how people gravitate towards what shoes, or you're super interested in that, and how sort of the shoes by the way they look or by the way they feel and how people sort of identify with them is a super interesting story for you. But like, what got you into design initially?
Yeah. So to put it concisely, I was always looking for where I wanted. Like I've always been able to draw fairly well, and I initially started with like animation and illustration. That's what I initially went to school for because I liked that storytelling aspect. But I was always really like interested in the technical aspects of footwear. So when I started realizing that I wasn't wanting to go into like illustrator animation, like more dedicated, just because the industry, um, I worked like running shoe jobs, like I said, and it was really interesting, like seeing both the technical aspects as well as the storytelling aspects of what gravitated people to those shoes. And accidentally, I just started like just learning about marketing at the same time because I was learning how to talk about these shoes that I was for selling. But then when I started trying to take my own hand at like those kind of things, I was really just interested in mixing those two approaches into like how do I design a cool looking shoe that tells a story, but then so also does what it's actually trying to say.
Hmm.
And I think that was really like the catalyst for me to branch off from there. And while I was studying that, 'cause that takes a long time, you can't just immediately just turn around and be like, I'm a footwear designer. And like, you can, and you should like make like radical changes. You just learn a lot along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Hence marketing and like, uh, my first job while I luckily was actually able to get it in school was working with Nike contract for sports marketing. And that helped me just like financially just kind of keep through school. But it really just kind of gave me like the extra motivation of like, okay, I'm learning both sides of the same coin, essentially.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. What do you think? Well, not what do you think? Sorry. What's been your favorite shoe design of the last 10 years?
So from a performance element,
Yeah, let's
uh,
start there. Yeah.
yeah, from a performance side, I think, I mean, it's hard to go away from it, but the carbon plated drive is just something that's really cool. Especially like I really really like the original Vaporflies, like
Hmm.
in the typing stages, as well as like the breaking two, like those Vaporfly elites, where it's just like a small capsule where it's like I think that it's a great example of like really perfect marketing and really perfect
Hmm.
technology advancements that just had like a really unique uh, vibe.
Yeah.
And like it was also like right at that pivotal moment where I was deciding I wanted to go into footwear design. And I remember staying up in the middle of the night watching Breaking Two and just being like fascinated with like the differences of like, okay, what are these three athletes wearing versus these other athletes who are still world renowned.
Yeah.
And it was just a really interesting divide. And then the Nat Geo documentary came out, and it was like an even bigger explosion of that aesthetic. And it was just really cool seeing how those two worlds meshed of these scientists who some of them were like huge running nerds, some of them were material nerds, some of them were just, running gurus in general. Um, so I think as a technological standpoint, that it's just hard to deny how radically that's changed footwear around and how that.
Sweet. Okay. Well, you got no lack of passion for the design aspect and for the innovation aspect. I think that's wonderful. Let's get into a little bit of your why. I think that's a super important topic too. So you said that you got inspired sort of by your mom running marathons, and that sort of drew you to the sport initially. But personally, why do you run?
I run, yeah, it's like kind of a little bit with my mom. She's a huge inspiration for me, and uh, my parents split when I was 5, and I was very close to both my parents still like throughout. Like there's nothing sappy within that. Like I saw them both equally, but my mom, she had me around like 20, 21, 22. And she was always like a really driving force for like when she said she was gonna do something, she just did it. And she just picked up running. And I was very short when I was young, and I went to a school with a lot of tall people in Oklahoma. Like to put it in perspective, right now I'm like 6 foot, pretty standard average, maybe normal height. Um,
Well, I mean, now anyone under 6 foot is like, what the hell is this guy talking about? You just
yeah, yeah.
alienated
That's
half of
why
the
I said it.
population.
I'm not like freakishly tall. I might
I
be
know, I'm kidding. I'm
like
kidding.
an inch or two taller than the normal average person. Like,
Yeah.
when I was in eighth grade, for instance, which this is
Okay.
already 3 or 4 years into running, I was like 4'8". I was
Oh
very
shit.
small.
Okay. Yeah.
I was very small. And
That was in eighth grade. You were 4'8",
yeah,
and now you're 6 foot.
yeah. So it was a very quick like turnaround. So I was never fast.
Okay.
I could run for a while, and it was just really fun like watching her and I kind of like start taking this up and really getting into it. And I think that was like my initial like heartstring to it because it was a very connecting thing I got to do with my mom. And that was before I watched professional running or was like really into the whole everything with it. And then like that just kind of made my foundation. And then come into like middle high school and I started hitting a growth spurt. I think my times just really quickly picked up and still not like groundbreaking for any high school athlete. I went from like running a 20-minute 5K to running like a mid 16 minute.
Okay.
And within like a couple years, and that was like really cool. And that then started getting like boosted with watching professional running, like I said, and like really following like these stories that come out of it. And I just like, I was an awkward kid, and running was like a really cool thing that like connected me with people that became very lifelong. So I think that's what kind of grew that emotional side and tied to running, because it wasn't just something that like kept me healthy and maybe feel fast and competitive and all this kind of stuff like that. It was just a grounding of like meeting people.
Yeah,
So
totally. That's cool. I like the sort of marriage between the two, like the physical and almost metaphysical aspects of that. What's your continued motivation for it to keep running?
probably the art, like
Yeah.
I mean, I be competitive, and like I like racing the mile. I'm only like a mid 4:30 mile guy, especially as I like spend so much time working on the art side of running as well to actual running. Um, and but like it's the competitive sides for sure, but it's almost kind of like maintaining myself to be socially fit. Like say for instance, I'm out at Boston and I have the chance to run with like some of my big time heroes and I want to have a conversation with them. I need to be able to be fit enough to at least go run 8 miles at 7 flat or whatever,
Hmm.
pace. And um, that's like an extra motivation of like just love the sport and I like doing it and it's a good space to clear your head, but also it's like it's a key that opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, on what you just said too, like you said, you're kind of an awkward kid. You found running, it connected you with like-minded people. Do you think running inherently like attracts people that I don't know, are in sort of like that awkward or I don't want to use the word misfit, but let's just use it for this for sake of argument, like that sort of like misfit headspace where maybe there's something else not out there, so they gravitate towards this sort of like I don't know, torture on legs. I don't know. Yeah, you know.
It's super valid to kind of voice it like that. I think misfit can maybe be a low key good word for it because like I'm sure it's not a new discovery, but like I think the more you there's a scaling graph of like the more you run, probably the weirder you can often be. Um, and like that's kind of like a fun thing to see, and it's not like a negative connotation. It's just like it's who wants to sometimes go like for instance like ultra marathon runners. Like I look up to these people a lot, and I enjoy talking to them because like they spend so much of their time alone running most of the time and in a consistent type of pain and whatnot. Like there's something like funny going on out there, and
Yeah.
it's really interesting to kind of just talk with them and hear how they vocalize stuff and conversate, um, which has me really excited to go up to Western States in a couple days. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I as like someone who was like socially awkward as like a younger age and found like this separation between a pain that is like most people would just say I don't want to do this versus a pain it's like I kind of enjoy feeling this. So I want to like see how far you can go into it and reach that competitive side. It's just it's an interesting like space to kind of investigate.
Yeah, that is. Um, yeah, I'd like to see that correlation too. I do think it's valid of that type of personality that enjoys being on their feet for 24 hours
Mm-hmm.
and like just that what comes along with that. So there's a lot in there. One thing I want to touch on is like the aspect of running as a sport, but also running as sort of a social activity. Because I think socially fit, I haven't heard that before, and I think is that
Yeah,
spam call again?
yeah.
For anyone just tuning in, Jake's been getting a spam call like 100 times today, and it might pop up again. So just letting you know. But treating running as a sport, but also like this aspect of it being like a social activity. How do you balance it? Like, how do you go from wanting to improve your mile time? You know, you said you're mid fourth or mid fours, which is incredible. If you're looking to still get that down, but then also balance that with, you know, like a community run or whatever, and finding joy in this, like the slow aspects of it. So, like, what do you do to kind of like balance that out in your head?
Balance like
The competitive nature versus like the community nature and treating it as a sport and as a social activity.
sure. Well, that's yeah. I mean, I think it's just realistically. I guess the easiest way of doing that is like split how much time you're running alone versus like you're running in like group runs. Like for instance, grew up in Oklahoma again. I grew up in specifically Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's definitely like run groups and stuff like that, but more often than not, whether especially when if you get in like your mid 20s or something like that, versus when you're like high school or college, there's not like a huge running boom going on out there. If anything, it's better. It's like bigger for like bike or bicycling.
Mm.
Um, However, when I just moved here to New York, like only 6 months ago, it's like I'm now like overwhelmed with like how many options. Like essentially every day of the week, I can go find a different run club and just go talk to people who are most likely like-minded.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think if anything, I almost don't really have too much of an issue with like balancing the competitive nature versus the chill thing because it's almost like I didn't grow up with it, so I'm excited to just like run with whatever group I'm with at the time.
Sure. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's kind of like a remembering the joy of it all, right? Like I think I've definitely personally found myself like re-evaluating what it means. I think I got so worked up about like a race and then I had a bad race and then that like your identity gets so wrapped up in like this one thing and then
sure.
you like if you shit the bed like you're like what am I doing this for and you kind of pull back and then you realize like what it's all for. So I think it's good to not lose that curiosity, that excitement like you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like not to say that like running isn't always going to be just like super easy to get out the door and go do this stuff. And I'm like the first person to admit like I'm a fairly inconsistent runner at times. Like it's I like to say it's because um, since I also work in running and like it's my own
Hmm.
personal output. So it's like even when I'm not like working on something professional and I'm doing like a fun project, it usually revolves to some degree around running, or at least like I'm designing like a random side project shoe. There's probably some tie to running. So it's kind of like I'm always thinking about running. So sometimes I actually forget to go do the activity that being running versus like using that part of my headspace on something else that's like sitting here at my desk. So it's like, if anything, I have a bigger trouble of separating those two and being like, oh, I actually need to go run if I want to call myself a runner. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Uh,
I need to go run
yeah,
if I'm going to call myself a runner. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and when it comes to being competitive, um, I haven't really had a hard time separating those two because, yeah, when it's time to be competitive, I just kind of get competitive.
You can turn that on or turn it on and off. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess sort of in that vein, but more of just kind of like at large. What has running taught you about yourself? We talk a lot on legs about like how being a physically active person or like moving your body inherently makes you feel a little bit better about yourself, and that makes you feel more confident maybe in the world, and that makes
Mhm.
you a more active member of a community of society, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
But I don't ever really touch on like what the outcome of it is. So like after you have become like an active member of a community or a participant in sort of the greater spectrum of things, what have you learned? Like what has it taught you? So I'd be curious to know like it sounds like you've done a lot of like your reason, your why for being in running, like the creativity you find in it, the excitement and joy that it brings you.
Mhm.
Like what else have you learned about yourself through this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure most everyone can kind of attest to this, and I might sound a little bit like a naive runner would when I say this answer, but it's just like it's taught me everything from a work ethic to how to kind of be in a moment a lot, and yeah, very clearly I'm a bit of an overthinker with stuff, but usually from like a positive end. Um, so running is kind of an opportunity to just only think about like it's almost like meditation. Like people always kind of say, it's like running. People tie running to meditation, and I initially started thinking about that based on my old coach, who was like a Vietnam vet, and that's how he would meditate and pray would be through running. And so I
Hmm.
kind of took that up, where it's like actively when I go run, it's my way of just like letting things kind of come in and out. Um, so yeah, I think if anything, running is it's taught me pretty much how to just like be in a certain moment.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
probably
Yeah, I mean, yeah, presence is like our one duty in this life. I think Mary Oliver has a quote about that or something. But how has running influenced like your design, your creativity, your art? Um, and do you like have a specific example of when you had an aha moment on a run, like for an idea, like I don't know, we
mm-hmm.
could put carbon in the tongue.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that.
Um, that's it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's
Let's just start with how has running influenced the creative parts of your life?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, from the bare bones, like as everyone can guess, since I design with running in mind, usually like um, I guess that is the first one is like I from the most simple basic level is like I want to make things and be creative for the thing that I'm doing, which is running. Um, which is yeah, the obvious answer, but like yeah, this is the first time I'm like kind of stumped because it's like I'm trying to think of like a specific moment where it was like an aha moment, but if anything, I think that's the thing is like I I love talking about running and I love helping other runners. If anything, I got the most excited about running. Often, not even when I'm running myself or like racing myself,
Hmm.
even though I am competitive. Um, I always got really, really stoked watching someone that I've known who's like really grinding on something specific and running and like being there and like talking about it with them and like getting them
Hmm.
helping them get to there. So I think footwear design specifically, why it cleans itself so much towards running versus like sometimes I'll design this kind of sport, sometimes I'll design this, is because it's
Hmm.
my way of having like helping, I guess, other runners, for instance. So it's like someday if I get to see like a general shoe that I maybe have had a part of on the daily where people were wearing it around. I think that's like the coolest thing because we
Hmm.
trust so much of our shoes to carry us so far. Even though, like, especially the more you get into footwear design, just how like simple these things can be, or just like not really simple, but how little is actually there material wise,
Hmm.
and how much we trust these things to take us so far. Um, so I think that's a really that's probably the root of like what inspires me to go into like study and work harder and learn more.
Yeah,
I just want to help as many people outwardly as I can without really I don't need to know who I am or how big of a part or what part I've had in it. It's just
yeah,
nice to see it out there.
totally. I think that's great. In terms of like you're talking about understanding people grinding it out and kind of finding some inspiration in that. I want to talk quickly about like the illustrations and the caricatures that you do. I think they're fantastic, and if everyone listening wants to check out those on Jake's Instagram, I would highly recommend it. Um, so through those, like I was going to ask, do you think running is an art form? And I think it's pretty clearly obvious that it is for you in certain aspects. But the inspiration behind those, like what was it? What was there for you that you wanted to capture?
Yeah. Uh, so growing up in Oklahoma, there was not many opportunities I got to go see professional runners. It was actually very like late into my time of considering myself like a dedicated runner that I got to finally see a professional runner in person, or at least like a larger race, and that was the what was it 2020 Olympic trials like for the marathon, like 2019 whatever it was in Atlanta. And that was my freshman year in college. I just moved out of Oklahoma. I would see like a college race occasionally at like in Stillwater, at like the OSU Jamboree, um, or maybe I would see like Chris O'Hare running around because he lived in Tulsa. I just like for me, drawing runners was like the closest way I could like watch a race online, being of like maybe these people I look up to from like if it was a specific athlete, and I could just really look at it and study it and like try to capture the same energy that was maybe coming from in the person, um, as it would be on paper. So like, yeah, I just started drawing athletes that was watching a lot, and then eventually those athletes started like liking the drawings, and that was like the coolest thing for me because like, oh my god, I have like sort of skin in the game in a way. I'm like, these people do my work and like they like it and like they're asking for it. And like one of the first big connections was I guess I should also really quickly say it connected me with other artists.
Oh, sure.
Like
Yeah.
the whole reason I went to SCAD was because there's an artist based out of New York named the Orange Runner, Luke McCambley. I messaged him like my first day of senior year of high school, and I was like, I love your work. And because he drew runners the same way and he loved the stories behind them. And now I'm like, I work with him very often,
Nice.
projects, and I run with him very often here in the city. So it's like, it's kind of good with that. But like, yeah, once these runners started like messaging me and like I got to like grow this intimate connection, I realized just how quickly like these athletes were different than other professional athletes in other sports.
That's very cool. Yeah.
That led me to professional gigs. So it's like, I guess to wrap it up, like the way I got my first gig with Nike was I did like drawings of Craig Engels. He messaged me. He really liked them. I like started chatting with him a little bit, and then like randomly he was like, "Hey, I lost a bet. Can you draw me a tattoo?" And I was like, "Sure." And this was 2019, something like that. And I drew him a Winnebago, and he like texted me like 2 weeks later, and he was like, "Hey, I got the tattoo, and here it is, and it's on his ass." And he's like, "What do I owe you?" And I'm like, "I just connected with someone at Nike." So he sent me a picture with like the tattoo like right above his hip.
Yeah.
And a connection. And that guy eventually got me my first contract job.
Oh, damn.
And it's like, it was just like it's the best representation of like how tight the sport is and just like kind of how much people care about it. And you don't really see like things like that happen in other sports.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's a great story. I mean, from ass tattoo to first gig at Nike, I think that there's like a pretty sweet line there.
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. I met the Orange Runner in New York when I was there for the marathon a couple of years ago. He was like having people sign his van that he was driving around. So I picked up one of his Brooklyn shirts, which I wear often too. But yeah, good dude.
Here, yeah.
What's that?
I had the Queens one back here actually.
Oh, sweet.
I'm wear it for this call.
Nice. On that, who do you think is a runner out there that shows the most creativity in how they run? Who's the most creative runner in the sport?
That's a great question.
Doesn't have to be famous either. It could be yourself too.
Oh no, not let you go focus. I mean, Luke is, if we're talking like non-professional, Luke is definitely one of my biggest inspirations. That and yeah, Zach Levitt, or Lidoff. I don't know why I said Levitt. Zach Lidoff.
Okay.
Yeah, he's out of Zach Levitt's great too. He's a cool guy. But
He does the posters, yeah?
yeah.
I've talked to him. Yeah, he's great.
Me and him started drawing around the exact same time and doing the same thing and working in the same space. So eventually, us three all started like working together on like a lot of projects. Like we all were in person for Foot Locker again last year with Hoka.
Nice.
And it's dangerous how quickly we just go down rabbit holes, creatively in running. So in terms of a creative superpower in running, those people as well.
Yeah.
Those people for sure. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to like a professional runner creatively, I was like David Rivich. David Rivich is really cool. Like he always had like a really good personality. And then, I mean, Craig. I think Craig is a good showcase of just being very personable with runners. Yeah, instead of just going down a list of why I like so many different runners, that's my immediate ones.
Okay, well, okay, cool. We'll stop there. I like that though. where in running, like, okay, I want to talk a little bit about your running style now and how you approach the sport. So we talked a little bit about like the social fitness aspects as well as the competitive aspects, but what would you say is the most you thing about how you run? Like something that's uniquely you.
Yeah. Some people would call this half stepping. Um,
Okay.
kind of like how we're having this conversation. God forbid we start talking about professional running. Um, I just speed up, like just get more excited. And I think it's a common trait with a lot of people. Like you just get really excited and you just start the heart rate or whatever like that. Um, I will like start speeding up, and I eventually will just crash and burn. But I'm like
Sure.
kind of happy that I do it, happy because it's like, oh, I just really care about this sport. So I think that's a pretty consistent one where I feel like, okay, let's like calm down, both in like
Sure.
how I'm talking about this and how I'm running, so I can actually like get back to my house. Um,
I understand that all too well. I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Um, what's like a day in the life of you as a runner? So if we put a GoPro on your head, where are
amazing.
you running? What are we seeing if we join you on a run?
Well, right now, since moving to the city, um, I try to use it to get to know my neighborhood a bit better in Bushwick, which is um, it's a tricky one to get around because it's like I think if you ask like a lot of New Yorkers, this is probably not the first place that they like. Oh, this is a very like you know seamless running where I can just kind of just go run and not stop at every single light and weed through a bunch of people. But I like to go from essentially here to like Domino Park towards Williamsburg because it's like somewhat of a clear shot, and then just kind of like run up and down those areas. So either go up to Queens or go towards like shipping yards and whatnot, and south towards like Dumbo, and then back. Or I will go to Prospect or Central if I want like a very undivided loop. So and I usually like to do those in the mornings, especially right now since it's like really hot. Um, yeah, it depends on the day. So it's like if it's a weekend, I'll try to go and like expat and see something interesting in like very New York. But
Hmm.
if I need to just like get something done, I'll try to get out the door and just go straight towards like in Queens or towards Brooklyn or like
Yeah.
downtown.
Nice. You're making me miss the city a lot. I like that you're still I'm catching you in this like honeymoon phase with it still too, because there's so much like excitement in the city. I'm curious too about like the community aspect of the city. So I know that there's a run club for every night of the week, for every personality, for every dating type,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. Um, have you found sort of the community in New York to be welcoming of newcomers? Have you had any issue finding your people, as they say, your tribe or whatever? Yeah, and I think just like I want to kind of get to like the community in general being welcoming, but let's start with New York.
Oh, I mean, yeah, totally. Like
Yeah.
from kind of mentioned earlier, like you have like the old heads, you have like the new runners, and especially since and you even kind of like on the middle ground too now of like new runners in relation to like COVID, when New York running really just reboomed.
Hmm.
Every Tuesday I go to Brooklyn Track Club and I run with those people. And kind of like mentioned before, like I had this like network of people that I got close with from like work and Instagram and other artists and whatnot in the city. Like a good friend of mine, Harry Gould, Luke, and like a bunch of the Brooklyn Track people. Um, they kind of were my first starting point in getting welcomed in like their crew and like their regular people. And I definitely felt welcome from like the get go, where I would go to the track, and even if I'm doing my own workout, after we go get a beer, and that led to like Wednesdays. Harry would he had it's like a whoopsies Wednesday thing where we go run 7:30 from across like uh, Williamsburg Bridge and Manhattan Bridge. Um, if I yeah, have that right, something like that. Um, so obviously getting my lay of the land. But like that's led me to meet people that show up to that, which is always like a close knit group. And then these people tell me about run crews, run clubs that I have no idea about.
Yeah.
Is you'll go around with like the minted guys on like Saturday.
Hmm.
yeah, and when like Ray's Run Club is like doing something really fun right now, where it's like again like nightlife, and it's very like intro of runners. Like yeah, they don't run super fast, they don't run super far, but like they're super tight. They like chatting, and yeah, it's impossible to say that I have. I think anyone could probably move here and not feel welcome to start running at any level.
Yeah. I guess that's amazing, by the way. But one thing I want to get to is like with that many options, it could be overwhelming. So, what do you like? How do you define community for yourself? And then what do you look for when you're looking for a club to join for a run, a club to join for a longer stint? What do you also look out for in terms of like when it's not a fit? So I'm just like curious about sort of your
Sure.
characteristics that you look for in community.
Sure. I mean, I usually like if I'm going to do like a longer run. Not gonna lie, I like it to be a smaller group. So even if it's just like me and Luke, or me and Harry, or my roommate who moved here from Scout as well, he is an animation and stuff like that, and we'll run fairly often. Um, I like those more like intimate, just like runs where it's like you just sort of talking to someone and it's just like kind of intimate and you just go do your thing. Um, I mean, I at the moment I'm not really looking for like things that I unless you just have shitty people, which that they're everywhere. That's really the only thing that I'm just kind of like looking out for
Yeah.
in terms of like who not to be around or where I'm not a fit. Um, Obviously, I'm not gonna probably run as often with a group that's like not as experienced. Not because like I think it's looked down upon. It's just obviously if like you're trying to go further, you like
Hmm.
going further and like the lines more. So I guess that's like looking for similar people who have similar goals and training systems and regimens and whatever.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, I mean,
What what would you say is like well, actually, let me rephrase this. What advice maybe would you have for someone looking to join a run community, run club, New York or otherwise? Like, I don't know, like the qualifications for this are varied, obviously, from person to person. So there's not going to be a one size fits all answer, but like, there's obviously trials and tribulations that everyone goes through finding their people.
yeah,
So like, what is something that you wish you knew beforehand, and what advice would you have for someone new to running and maybe looking for a community?
totally. I mean, I like really looking for like people first type like situations in run clubs. Something that's not generally attached or like heavily married to a brand. As funny as it is to say for someone who like works heavily in brand and all that kind of stuff like
Yeah.
that, sometimes it's fun to see like what a brand is putting up for like a basic event, but like versus the same old meet at the run shop, whether it's a brand flagship or you know more often than that, it's like that, but like versus like a local running store, which is actually that many here in New York. Um, I like looking for things that are just like a sprawling of people in all different types of speeds and whatnot that are kind of. That's what I love Brooklyn Track Club Tuesdays, to be honest, because it's like it's busy, but you can kind of like talk with everyone and
Mm.
hear like see what everyone's kind of doing and kind of like pick and choose how you're feeling and what you're training for, and most likely everyone's there. And there's not really like a hey, come here, we're showing off this big shoe, or we're not trying to like push anything to you. It's just like just go run loops.
Yeah.
And I really like that because it just feels more intimate and it's more
Yeah.
about people. And then you finish your workout and the groups separate and they go get a drink somewhere, whatever.
Yeah.
But in terms of people who are coming here to like, what they should be looking for, of course, just assess kind of realistically of like what kind of runner are you now, what kind of runner do you want to be in the future, because like you said, you can find a group that will help you get to that
Yeah. Totally.
for sure. And that could be a social runner, that could be a very competitive runner.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
that. You've got to like do a little bit of introspection and ask yourself some questions before just thinking that. there's going to be a one size fits all approach, right? Like you've got to understand who you are and what you want out of this whole thing, which takes a
Yeah,
little bit of, self-realization or self-journeying, whatever. Yeah.
and not even to be like transactional when it comes to people, but it's like
Yeah.
um, it not every run crew, especially not like the best, are all spread across social media. A lot of it's like it's just a group of people who are just running every week, and they just have their system where it's like, let's meet here every day of
Yeah.
this week at this time and run this amount of distance or whatever. And they have a group chat or whatever, but it's like you meet those people by like going to these really popular run clubs. And this is probably just obvious info, a bit how anyone makes any kind of friends, but like if you really tailor your running and what you want to do with running here in the city by just going to these big basic run clubs and just narrowing down.
Yeah. I think it's that's interesting. I also get really anxious or I shy away from the clubs that are large, like the ones where and it's I think when brands start getting involved and like nothing
Mm-hmm.
against Hoka, but like when I see
Yeah.
their tents all over the place, especially in Portland, and it was like cool, but it also means I'm not going to come, which is like, that's just a personal thing for me, but like 60 people running down the middle of a street when there's cars behind us. I'm like, guys, we should move or something. I don't know. Like, it's like it just makes me anxious.
Yeah.
So I think I share that sentiment. Looking forward, like with this glut of maybe not glut, but with this like boom of clubs. I asked this question because I'm just so curious, but like what do you think's going to happen? Because I think some are sustainable, some are tenable, but some are going to be flash in the pan. Like that's just the nature of the beast. But I don't know, where do you see this culture? Where do you, especially like kind of on the inside track as a brand guy, um, what do you see happening, or what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, everything kind of boils down to trends for the most part, and trends they're like the weather. They kind of do what they want. And you know, running had a massive boom, and from an industry side with running, it's great that we had this huge influx and the technology got better, the attention got bigger, the money came in more. Um, However, just like any kind of sport, it's going to slow down. And I think that reflects on the clubs that come out of it. That being said, one great thing about running is it's such like a simple sport. It's so approachable and so easy. Not, I wouldn't say easy necessarily, but like it's so easy to just say like I'm going to go for a run,
Right.
and you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. And because of that, it will never really go away. Um, so putting that in terms of run clubs, I mean, really, I think if you just go to a run club of any kind of scale, especially in being around it long enough, there's probably trends again, like you could say, if it's like more people focused versus like a brand focus,
Hmm.
you can quickly tell if it's gonna stay longer,
Yeah.
and that's even like without taking the into like account that run clubs change. Sometimes they may be starting as like a brand focused thing, but when the brand steps away and allocates money different ways, these people still meet up because they just like running together and they may have found a group. Um, so yeah, I think yeah, from an inside brand perspective, realistically, it's just you just kind of want to like let it do its thing, and especially in a city where so much of it is like popping up and new things happening,
Yeah.
just kind of like I guess from the viewpoint of like myself, someone who's like new into it, just write it out, see what's going on, and have fun with it, and it's gonna die down. Yeah, it's like a loose answer, but I
It's a
think I think it's
good
gonna slow
answer.
down. I think it's gonna slow down here in a little bit for
Yeah.
sure, and it's gonna go back to more of the roots, just like everything in it, like
Hmm.
rising falls, because we just had like a huge peak, and now you have like fashion kind of taking into it, both like mainstream and not.
Hmm.
Like, the first the shoes were really big, and now you have running clothing, especially in the city with Bandit having like a peak right now, and Satisfy having a huge peak, and these like newer like groups being popular, and then I think those pieces of apparel have now they've hit the big intro level of runners, where it's like you have like these runners who've only been running for like a year, and now they're buying into that. And I usually see that as a marker that, okay, once this kind of dies down and they find their other sport, the money and the excitement is going to take like a dip for a little bit right now.
Sure.
Like that. And I'll say this like last little thing, but like kind of align it with the trend of chunkier shoes. Shoes got, especially like with Vaporfly kind of starting, and I guess working for a chunky shoe brand being Hoka. Like,
arguably the chunkiest, maybe.
Arguably the chunkiest.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. And like, at least for right now for us.
Yeah, totally.
However, on that trend, from like a fashion standpoint, the shoes got chunkier and chunkier and chunkier. And now, if you look from like a streetwear fashion level, flat is so in.
Yeah, everyone's in Sambas, right?
Everyone's in Sambas. Everyone's in platform ballet shoes.
Yeah.
Like men and women, where it's like you have shoes like that. I mean, yeah, it's like I think you're going to see that trend where running takes a step back.
Okay.
And a similar, that made sense. Like you can kind of follow the shoe trends as well as like what's popular in running right now.
Yeah.
And I think running longer mileage is going to slow down these, it's like that.
Okay. I like that. Interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens over the course of the next 1 to 5 years. I think it's gonna be cool. I'm stoked for it because the rise was so fast. Yeah. And I think we're gonna see that. I don't want to say fallout because I think it's too negative, but I think we're just gonna see the other side of it happen just as fast, but just iterate itself completely different. So
I think it's just gonna go back to its core demo. Like
exactly.
It's I wouldn't say old heads, but like I think like skating is going through right now. It's like not everyone's looking at skating the same way as they used to when like Supreme was at its height and like all these other brands were like really, really big. Right now it's kind of like back to rebuilding the foundation of it, and like it's niche again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
just gonna be a bunch of Satisfy shorts in closets collecting dust like over the course of the next couple of years.
Yeah,
keep your eyes on Poshmark. Okay. That was great. We're going to do the lightning round now. So take a sip. I'm just going to fire these off now. You have time to answer it. This isn't like this, not timed.
No, it's a good challenge for me.
But you really are living up to this scatterbrain, but purposeful aspect, which I really do appreciate. So I'm here for it. Okay. So lightning round. This is like just a mix of absurd and nonsensical and real. So starting easy, sweet or salty?
Salty.
Favorite city to run in?
New York, probably.
Okay. Bucket list place to run or bucket list distance to run? That wasn't an either or. That was either you can answer.
I've had recurring dreams of running in the Swiss Alps. I think because I've been watching UTMB forever, and I have to go there for work this year for the first time.
Nice.
So, and probably a 50-miler.
Okay. Hell yeah. If you could give yourself a running nickname, not Jake the Runner.
We'll go back to the old one, Runaway Blonde.
Okay. I like it. Last song you listened to?
Oh gosh, I literally just had it. The Wind, use of Cat Stevens.
Sweet. Would you rather be a world record holder in the event of your choice or have the ability to talk to animals?
Talk to animals.
Yeah, probably a good one. What is your toxic running trait?
Probably inconsistency and being hard on myself because of that.
Fair. Tights or shorts?
Shorts.
Yeah. Gels or candy?
Candy.
Yeah, always. Who would you like to run with, past, present, or future?
So
I threw the future in there to kind of like make it a little bit more interesting.
I'm going to say Zatopek.
Okay.
Just with like how like awkward of a runner he was, and I don't know a huge like I'm sure there's info that I could read more into about him like personally, but like I'd just be very curious to just see if we're going to talk about niche running time in history. Even then, like how much he blew up in this one very small time frame of the Olympics, and how many events he did. Just like what was going through his mind during this time.
I like it. At what age do you think you're going to hang up your running shoes?
I'm gonna say I would like to say never, but I'm gonna guess when my knees would go out would probably be around like 75 or 80 if I'm lucky.
By then, though, there might be such advancements in robotics that we might just have like 3D printed knees or something
Yeah,
that we just keep going. So I
but
never could be an answer there too. I
yeah,
appreciate it. Yeah.
I mean, let's hope.
Yeah.
I would like to say with how enthusiastic I am about running and how long it's lasted, I would like to hope that it's a trend that won't go away.
Love it. All right. Fill in the blank. If I didn't run, I would.
Sleep.
Free shoes for life, the brand of your choice, which maybe skewed this one, or X-ray vision.
Oh, let's say probably X-ray vision, but like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because I feel like I don't know. You could. It wasn't it in like Austin Powers where the guy had X-ray vision and he could like read the cards and he would make all the money. If you just could do that in Vegas, you
yeah.
could buy all the shoes you wanted.
I suppose it's true, and also it's like working and running. I have enough
Yeah,
shoes
yeah,
for enough people that I can give away, and I just like it's very lucky, but like not to say I don't buy shoes still occasionally, but like I have enough.
yeah. I knew that answer was going to be a little skewed. Okay, so we're putting together a documentary about your life. Who's narrating it?
Hmm. My old coach that I mentioned, because he's equally as scatterbrained, but uh, yeah, his name is yeah Mike Burge. He is
Okay.
the mayor of Sand Springs, Oklahoma, which was my hometown growing up. He was a Vietnam vet, um, and running was his way of like rebuilding himself once he got back from the war. And uh, if there's one person that I definitely got like a trait of just like really passionate, just talk forever about the same thing of being running, it's definitely him. And I think he also has a very like unique voice. Like if on my Instagram I pinned, I did like a video for Nike for Oklahoma cross country, and I gave him like a sheet of like questions because I wanted him to be the narrator of that video, or like voiceover, and he just went with it. And I
Nice.
think that's a perfect example right there.
Okay. Perfect. I like it. Um, are you good at keeping secrets?
Yeah, I'd say pretty good.
Cool. Um, what's the best pickup line you've heard? Either you've tried or had tried on you, or
Oh,
just in general.
I actually don't know if I have an answer for that. I'm just like a corny person. Like you can ask my girlfriend, which I guess for the answer previously, she probably knows all the secrets.
Okay, so you're selectively good at keeping secrets.
Yes, yes. If it's like a really important
Cool.
secret that
Yeah.
matters, yes. But yeah, obviously. But yeah, she probably knows. Yeah. So sorry, ADD. The question you just asked
Best
was hard.
pickup line you've heard or tried.
Oh, can I pass? I actually
Yeah,
don't
you can
know.
pass. You can pass. Okay, let's move into the next one. Worst piece of running advice you've heard.
Not to say it isn't like situational sometimes, but running on your heels.
Running in your heels. Okay, yeah. If you could travel back in time, what would you do?
Um,
You'd think of a
yeah,
pickup line, wouldn't you?
probably a good one. It's a great one. Yeah, that's
That's
good.
it. That's it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Or again, run with like Zaddlepecker or someone like
Okay.
very.
Yeah, I guess we kind of covered that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite recovery or post-race meal?
Uh, I kind of going back to my mom again. She would have bacon or prosciutto leek pasta. It's a super simple, just like I make it so often, but you pan fry some pancetta or prosciutto or bacon, whatever your choice. Chop up some leek in there, and it's just cream sauce, and you can put it with pretty much any kind of pasta, and it's horrible for you, but it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be. It's your recovery meal, right?
Yeah, yeah. Who cares?
Sweater weather or no shirts ever?
Sweater weather. I've lived in humidity and heat, and we're kind of getting a heat wave right now in New York, and it's definitely not compared to Savannah or Oklahoma, but like I am so much more happy and so much more comfortable in sweater weather.
Yeah, same. Okay. Um, Given your age, I'm not sure you get this one, but because I think I'm a little bit older than you, but Saved by the Bell or Boy Meets World?
Probably Saved by the Bell, just because of yeah, I like the intro a bit more.
Okay, you're the first person to say Saved by the Bell, and I'm very happy about that.
Cool.
Okay, that's it. Next steps, like what's on the horizon for you? I mean, you've got a lot coming up, like you've mentioned. But anything else that you want to share in regards to that? Where can we find you? Or is this like all hush hush and we gotta wait?
Oh no, I'm pretty open. Yeah, I have a few races that I'm doing, branding and like Western states. I did all the retail apparel that I'm like super excited. And it's like a first year we're like building it. So the drawings are like my favorite graphic designer drawing example I've ever done. However, it was a really big learning curve. So I'm excited to see like how people, especially there in person, like it. On the footwear side, I am working on my first retail public shoe, at least for Jake the Runner as like a artist brand. I've had shoes
Nice.
come out in the past. However, this is like with my own logo on it, and I'm trying to, no one's gonna know what that logo really means except for like people that know me. However, it's with Zellerfeld, so it's like a fully 3D printed shoe, where I'm trying to balance the approach of a lifestyle shoe, but also make it as tailored to performance as I can, given the material. It's won't be a running shoe. It's again like all 3D printed, like expanding foam, but it's a medium that's like picking up popularity right now. Like Nike put one out, and yeah, I think that's really fun. And then I just got a membership to a footwear studio here, so I'm about to be doing more traditional footwear again, like I was in college. I've made like a lot of Birkenstocks in the past and sandals and whatnot. So I'm excited to kind of have this whole exploration of sports marketing that I've been learning and footwear still hitting the market and harnessing both of those.
Nice, man. That's great. That sounds I mean it's a lot, but I'm glad you're going to be keeping busy. Like I was concerned there for a second.
Oh yeah,
you didn't have enough on your plate, and I was going to lump some more on. Any shout outs? Anyone you want to thank for where you're at in your journey, or just recognize people in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I've called out a few. Luke is a big person for me. There's a guy named, you might know him out of Portland, Scott Cravat.
Oh yeah, Scott and I was just texting with him right before this. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was my first boss at Nike.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Yep. And I'm actually like I've known him for years, but I'm about to meet him for the first time at Western States on Wednesday.
Nice.
Which I'm super excited to go for a run with him. He's always been like a big inspiration, like a good like North Star for how I should model my professional work.
Yep.
Again, Zach that I called out, I guess both of them. Yeah, and girlfriend.
Nice. Yeah, Scott's one of the best, man. He's like one of the truest dudes. I'll see him actually next week, so I'm pretty excited about that. Jake, dude, thank you so much. This has been really, really fantastic. I really appreciate you taking some time and chatting with us today.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate the consistency and wanting to make this happen.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. All right, well, we're gonna end it there, bud. All right, take care.
I'm never shallow before where my heart used to be, girl. I'm taking time out of days to remember the name. And if my body's just a pedal, then your hips are delay. Beat me to the two-go space. loaded shotgun, baby, you're just my bullet.